So I just got finished watching your film Resurrection at
hmm
Sundance on the virtual screening, and I really enjoyed it. Why don't you? I mean, it's quite an unusual film, I would say, to say the least. Why don't you uh, set it up for the audience a little bit without? I mean, I'm sure you won't anyway, but revealing too much about what the basic plot and the journey of the characters are.
Sure. So it's a story of a woman named Margaret, and she's played by Rebecca Hall, and she is a successful professional and a single mother to a teenage daughter, played by Grace Kaufman, who is about to go off to college. And one day, a mysterious older man, played by Tim Roth, starts appearing seemingly at random in her environment, and she quickly comes to believe that he has returned to her life. He's a man from her past, is returned to her life to bring fear and violence to her world and that of her daughters.
Yeah. So you're also the author of the script, and I was curious about where the genesis of this idea came from.
Yeah, well, an exercise that I do sometimes when I'm trying to come up with ideas for a story or a project is I'll focus on something that scares me, some fear I have that is really lingering or fundamental or something like that. And in this case, I was thinking about fears around parenting, particularly the fear that you won't be able to keep your child safe, that you'll fail in this fundamental duty of a parent and your child will be hurt or victimized in some way. And that's this for many, this extremely elemental and continual fear. And that got me to thinking about parental vigilante films or parental revenge films, which are pretty popular subgenre. And I thought, oh well, this is an interesting space to try and work in. I think I might be able to do something here. So I started developing the basic outlines and the basic character. And around that same time, someone I knew became involved in a very unhealthy relationship with a very toxic and manipulative person. And I was witnessing this play out firsthand, and I was doing my best to understand the relationship and my best to help this friend of mine in whatever way I could. And I became very fascinated by and very, very frightened of the sort of techniques that these kind of extremely toxic, manipulative people use to control their victims and to forge these intense emotional bonds with their victims. And in just trying to understand this and do research on this phenomenon, it came to inform the script in a significant way. And so finally, all that stuff came together, and it came out as the movie that we premiered the other day.
Yeah. Now, how crucial was it to you got two huge stars in the film, Rebecca Hall and Tim Roth. Talk about how important it was to cast those two in those sort of pivotal roles.
Well, it was hugely important because the movie, without giving anything away, goes into some pretty strange and outlandish territory. And to be able to make that work, to be able to hold an audience's attention and make it feel credible, psychologically credible, emotionally credible, we absolutely needed brilliant actors to be able to do that. With actors who are less than brilliant, it simply wouldn't work at all. And thankfully, amazingly, we were able to get Rebecca Hall, who for my money is as good as any actor in the world today. She's extraordinary. And so when she came on board, I of course was a huge fan. I knew she had what it took to land this thing, to make this character someone who is fascinating, who is very intense, but also somehow maintains her dignity and sense of pride and this sense of her as a very intelligent and sophisticated person throughout Hold on, my Siri just came on. Go off, Siri. Sorry about that. So I've now forgotten your question, but I can tell you that having very strong performances in this movie was absolutely vital. And then of course Tim Roth is Tim Roth. Tim Roth is a kind of a living legend, and his career speaks for itself. So yeah, but we had to get great performances for this one, and thankfully I think we did it.
Yeah, for sure you did. And was there, I mean, there are a lot of, I imagine, difficult scenes to shoot in this film. What for you was the toughest?
Yeah, the toughest, one thing that I found somewhat remarkable is the scenes that are really tough dramatically, or tough emotionally, the things where the actors really had to dig very deeply and become very vulnerable. With actors of this skill and experience level, those scenes were remarkably straightforward to do. They were ready and they delivered, and we could do them successfully without any. It was easy, especially in the case of Rebecca. She just made it easy, so that the scenes that turned out to be the most challenging were just the ones that were most practically challenging, the ones that included any kind of VFX work, or the ones that included stunts, violence, these kind of things that are just typically practically more complicated. And also things that I hadn't really done before. I'd never made a movie with special effects or any really much violence or anything like that. So that was all new to me. So, but it was, yeah, the things that you would think watching the movie, oh, that must have been very challenging or very harrowing. The actors just knew what to do.
Yeah. So this was a Blacklist script, which I found really interesting. You know, it's something that people hear about, but I'm just curious what that experience was like for you. You know, having an unproduced script like that you knew was really great, and you know, take us through that journey a little bit, and about finally getting it made.
Sure. Yeah, I'm so dark here. I'm sorry about that. I keep adjusting my computer to try and brighten up the frame a little bit, but maybe it's for the best. Anyway, being on the Blacklist, so I mean, being on the Blacklist was great and a real honor, and of course gave a kind of stamp of legitimacy to the script. And we had already been actively trying to get the movie made when it landed on the Blacklist, and so it definitely helped raise the visibility of the project and generally drum up interest in the project, and so that was terrific. But that you know, that it didn't. I don't know if it radically transformed how we were approaching things, and the script remained mostly the same after the Blacklist experience, but it was really just a very welcome kind of feather in our cap.